Hey guys, so here I am with another series trying to help you figure out how to solve some problems that you may be dealing with in your life. And this one is going to be all about how to fix your squat. And with it, I'm going to start from the real basic levels of what may be preventing you from getting to parallel or even past parallel in squat. And then from there, we're going to try and see what may be keeping you from getting full depth in a squat and all the different patterns that I'll often observe that may be making folks pitch one way or another, lose their balance, lose their leverage, and perhaps not even be able to get into those ranges at all to begin with. So we're going to start from the very simple, the very big macro level, and then work our way into the weeds. And I hope as we're going on through that you find some things that may be helpful for you and the challenges that you face taking on what is a real basic posture, a full depth squat. All right, so if we're going to talk about how to problem solve your squat, we need to make sure we're on the same page as to what a squat is. A squat is simply going down. Feet are flat underneath you, they're planted on the ground, underneath your shoulders, not ridiculously wide, Jean-Claude Van Damme, not very spread out, turned out with your feet. Whole foot is on the ground and you go all the way down and you can bottom on out, fold your knees, fold your hips, feet stay flat, your gaze can stay forward. You can have a conversation and then you can come on back up. That's a squat. And it's as basic to a human being, Homo sapiens, as being able to bend your elbow all the way and straighten it all the way. It is a 101 thing that all of us did have during development, or at least the vast majority of us have had it. You would know if you didn't. And we would have lost it in our culture because everything was brought up to us. We were plunked in chairs and asked to spend a lot of time there, and we weren't asked to spend a lot of time on the ground. So we lose touch with it. It gets awkward, it gets stiff, it gets uncoordinated. So when I'm working with someone and trying to help them figure out why they may be having a hard time with this really basic movement, we can clump the problems that we'll often see into two categories. Oftentimes, with folks that have trouble with their squat, they are either pitched too far forward onto their toes, or they are pitched way too far back, more into their heels. And that makes it so that when they go to initiate a basic movement, which is really just going down, that's all a squat is. Vertical, straight up and down like an elevator. These are folks that don't have their feet planted flat on the ground to begin with. So as they go to try to fold and shift their body into that movement, well, they ain't working with their car on the road, and then they either tighten on up or lose their balance. So we have to figure out whether, if you've got a problem with your squat, are you someone that is more pitched to your toes and you're stuck in a more toned up arch like a power clean or a jump? Or are you someone that's a bit more pitched back into your heels, toes, popping on up? Regardless, the drill I'm going to walk you through will help you figure out which one you are, and if this is a drill that's going to be helpful for you, or if you need to move on to something else that I'm going to demonstrate. So all it's going to be is essentially what looks like a wall sit. And you go to maybe about a quarter depth. You could go deeper, but really you just want to see, can you get yourself to a quarter depth squat? And from here, can you pitch your weight to your heels? Can you lift your toes up and shift the weight entirely into your heels? And with that, can you then flatten your back, broad line and below? That gets you this hollow position for your core, and it tests to see, can you load your heels and have your core in a more middle position for you to start sitting down into. This is to check and see if you are more excessively pitched to your toes and you can't get your heels down in order to get that flush contact. If you're in that category, then doing this is really hard. You'd go and you'd sit and you'd do this quarter depth squat and your back would be arching way away. You may be very capable with a big arch in your back doing this, and that's not wrong. It is a problem though if you try to flatten your back and pitch your weight to your heels. If with your body weight alone your legs are shaking, that's going to be a limitation, and that is without a doubt a big part as to why you're getting stuck probably halfway in your squat if you're in this category. Now there's a chunk of you that'll try this and then you'll say, well, this actually really isn't hard. I could hang out there all day. Guess what? If that's the situation for you, then you're part of the club that isn't pitched to the toes, you're pitched back in your heels, and the problem is different, so the solution needs to be different. So those of you that maybe had trouble with sitting at that quarter depth, getting your weight into your heels, toes up, back flat, this is something for you to work on, and you can just use it like a plank, hold it for some breaths. There's some ways to finesse it and flesh it out, but it's a good starting point. For those of you that found the wall sit to be easy and not a big deal, my back is flat and I am on my heels anyway, then we go on to the next step to see if it's helpful for you, fleshing out some things and even working and improving some things. Alright guys, so let's say that you're part of the club where the wall sit against the wall, not a big deal. You could get into your heels, you could get your back, bra line below flat. In fact, you may have found yourself already kind of in your heels and your back already flat to begin with. It wasn't hard, so that's not your problem. You're not pitched excessively to your toes, you're already pitched way back into your heels. And that makes it so that when you go to get into a squat, well, you're already folded on in, so you don't have anywhere to go. So you either get frozen on up, you get bottomed on out and lose your balance, or you get stuck kind of halfway. So what we've got to do is tune you a bit more off your heels into the front of your feet. Get your toes down so your weight is flat. And that's going to ask your body to be a bit more erect and open and upright. So then you've got an open place to fold in from. And one of the simplest ways to do that is you take a fairly light band, and I got it wrapped around the post of this treatment table right here. This is a really easy band. It's kind of a joke to row. It says 20 pounds on it, but I don't know that that means anything. And you get it at about parallel, maybe slightly down, way low, doesn't work too well, up, doesn't work too well either. Wrap it around and then cross it. What you're going to be doing is standing feet shoulder width, try to get your weight flat. And what you pay attention to with this is, do you tend to lift up your toes? The answer is yes, and you want to make sure that you keep your toes down when you're doing this. The other thing you got to watch out for is how much when you're upright, you tend to kind of like sit in already into your hips. You can't come all the way up. You can't start at the top start position. So those are the two things we're going to watch for. Got the band in your hand, and what you're going to do is you're going to lock the arms straight. Elbows straight, locked, palms facing forward, gaze is forward, feet are flat on the ground. And then just keeping this, you see, can you take a breath in? Can you take a breath out? Chances are it's kind of hard to breathe, and I bet the front of your chest feels a little tight, because if you're one of those folks that's stuck back on the heels, then this is pretty constricted as well. So maybe do a few just to warm on up. You're going to feel your triceps working hard, maybe in between your shoulder blades. That's a great thing. And then once you get into that, the test is, can you lock elbows, keeping your feet flat, keeping your gaze forward? Can you take a breath in and then out? And you're seeing how deep can you squat. You want to get to at least parallel with this right here, and then be able to come on back up. For those of you that are stuck back on your heels, this is going to be really hard. You're going to tend to bow, get stuck halfway. You'll be lifting toes up, you'll be falling, and then when you come up to begin with, you're like already sitting in water skiing. So the point of this is to help you get fully upright, fully extended and open, so that then you've got a solid connection to the ground and also a top position to squat from. So your goal is to be able to get two parallel or below while doing this, and have a conversation as well. If you can breathe, then it's something that's usable for you. So for those of you that go through this, if you find the wall sit to be hard, that's your drill to start with. And that's going to help give you a way to get your feet flat and begin sitting into your squat more easily. For those of you that found that easy, you move on to this, and chances are you're going to find this hard. If you find both of these things to not be that challenging, then that means that we're going to be able to address your challenge with your squat at a deeper level, and there'll be some videos coming soon enough to touch on those things.